Ready?
1 second.
It's a recording.
It's recording.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of Unforced Errors. I'm James Christie, and to my left is Mr. David Redina, Park Singles champion this year.
Well, we are, aren't we?
Funny you should mention that. Yes, we are. I feel embarrassed.
Yeah.
I feel embarrassed you brought it up.
We are champions, man, of the first and only singles team Parks Clubs League tournament.
The Lockdown League, exactly, which is
So
always
good.
exciting to have a nice finale. As it is with French Open finals when it gets to the business end. And that's what we're going to be talking about, the 2020 French Open, which ended about a week ago. David, how was it for you?
Yes, what a tournament. And I have to start by one simple sentence. The big daddies are back, and the little kids can't come out and play anymore. What do you think?
Yes, it's very much business as usual. We have the French Open at a different time of the year. We have different balls. We have floodlights for the first time, the latest ever French Open finish. We have the roof over our head for the first time, but it's still the same winner in the men's, but not in the ladies.
Not in the ladies. And here we are. A great beginning of hopefully a new star in tennis, Iga Świątek.
Will it be, though? We've had this before. We've had false dawns before. Ostapenko, wasn't it?
Ostapenko, and not
A few
only.
years ago. Where is she now? She's
Kenin has
working
been
at
winning.
Sainsbury's. Or
Yeah, probably.
I don't know where she is now.
Maybe Tesco?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Waitrose.
Waitrose? Waitrose is better than Tesco.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
much
you
better.
think this 19-year-old Świątek,
Świątek, actually.
Świątek.
Yes, my girlfriend is Polish. She knows how to say
Yeah,
that.
she was teaching me earlier how to
She
pronounce it, and I've forgotten.
Yes, look, I think she's going to surpass Serena Williams' Grand Slams.
That is a big
Yes.
thing. So in
It's
20,
the biggest statement of them all.
in 20 years' time, I will remind you of that.
Yes, when we are like in the 20th or 21st year of this show.
Okay, so
Old and stupid.
she's supposed to be not bad on grass either. She kind of didn't have any practice on grass last time she played on grass, and apparently lost the first set and then figured out a very good opponent.
Yes.
So, yeah, there's hope there. So you think she's going to be a rival for Azarka?
That's what I'm now excited to see. We have to definitely pay attention to something that this Iga has done. She cruised through the whole tournament, something that is not very common to see. She did not celebrate like any other person. Even the big boys celebrate falling on the floor, rolling
How
on
did
the
she
floor.
celebrate? I forgot.
Have you ever seen Berrettini celebrate his reaching the last 8 or last 16? He rolls on the floor and he thanks the God and thanks the mother. And did you see this 19-year-old, how she celebrated winning
Yeah.
the French Open? Her mind, her game, I would say she has a mind of a type of player like Federer, and she has the game style a little bit of Nadal, with that spin. And she's young, and she won her first Grand Slam. If the boys can't do it, please at least the girls. I know that the women's game is very open now, but I am hoping that this is a kickoff for a very powerful player that will be around and then face Osaka. Like you said, that would be
I
interesting.
think tennis needs, women's tennis needs a rivalry.
It
Like the
does.
men's have had, 3 or 4 rivalries right at the top, whereas in the women's game, women players tend to shine bright like a comet and then just burn out.
Yes.
Apart from Serena Williams.
Yes.
So I hope, there's some consistency there. It's such a topsy-turvy game, isn't it? I think did Świątek lose to Halep last year, 6-love, 6-1.
6-love, 6-1.
And then a turnaround, so she's really improved.
6-2, 6-1. Halep
Sophia-
couldn't do anything.
Sophia Kenin, I think, lost in the warm-up tournament, the French Open, to Azarenka, 6-love, 6-love.
It was
And then
insane.
did she beat her at the French Open, I think?
Yes, I think
So,
so.
yeah, real turnarounds, which is exciting, but you just wish for a bit more consistency sometime. Like
Definitely. We need that rivalry, don't we? So Serena Williams came out with an injury, which raises the
Achilles.
question. Yes. Is she still going to break that Grand Slam record?
I'll answer that question with another question. Is Wimbledon going to go ahead next year, that's where people think
She can
her
do
best
it.
chance is. I think it's possible, but it's starting to look unlikely now, isn't it? She has to get fit. She's going to take 4 weeks off and actually do nothing, just sit on the sofa and watch box sets because it needs to be rested.
Yes.
But, these players are not afraid to beat her, are they? They
Not
will have
anymore.
a go. She's there to be shot at. I think she did well, to win the match. Was it matches at the French Open she did before she withdrew?
Yes.
But yeah, French Open isn't one of her best tournaments anyway. She's only won it 3 times. What do you think? Will she equal Margaret Court's 24?
I'm starting to doubt it, especially with this Swiatek has the power of Serena, the power of Osaka. That's what Halep doesn't have, even though Halep is a powerful player.
Yeah.
I think when this Iga plays her best, nobody can beat her.
Yeah.
And if she has a mindset like that, there was a very interesting question they made to her halfway through the tournament. They asked, so how is all the media in Poland? And she said she's not even paying attention to that.
Doesn't read the papers.
Yes, which is something
That's the way.
different.
Yeah.
That's not what happened with Coco Gauff, for example.
No,
Coco
yeah.
Gauff, 15, made an incredible run in the US Open to semifinals.
Yeah.
And suddenly she was everywhere. Even the president was visiting her. So
Yeah.
I think Iga has not only a team that is very grounded, but her mindset is also grounded. That's what gives me a lot of hope.
Yeah. When champions start sleeping in silk sheets,
Yes.
their game goes off a bit. And this is same with Coco. But I think all players who have that amazing result as Iga has, their game goes off a bit afterwards because they become the player to beat.
Agreed.
It's not just, I'm facing Iga or world number 42 in the world, just another match. It's, wow, I want to beat her. She's the French
Yes.
Open champion. For about a year, people start to figure out her game and really playing her as like a Grand Slam final for everyone.
Yeah.
But then the true champion, after a year of maybe setbacks, will come back and
Okay, so
become even better.
yes, you imagine that is to 2021, she's going to struggle to get a result?
Maybe
good
Osaka
result?
did quite well after her
She did.
breakthrough. I think did she win 2 in a row? But that's quite unusual.
These days.
It's often, even Federer after he won Wimbledon for the first time.
True.
Yeah, knocked out in the quarterfinals, I think, at the US Open.
Yes.
Yeah, struggled for a bit, but came back better.
Yeah. So did you notice any other female tennis player that caught your eye this tournament?
The main thing I noticed really, especially the final bit of the French Open final, was just how joyless it is between players at the end of the match in the ladies' game. Kenan looked as if her grandparents had just been murdered by Iga. There was no love at the net from her. Come on, say well done to the girl. Just fake it a bit.
Yes.
But compare that to, and we'll go on to the men soon, I'm sure, Dominic Thiem versus Schwartzman.
Very special
I know they're
moment.
friends, but, hugging at the end. It was a great game. Thiem was on top. Looked like he was going to win, but he was happy for his friends to go through. But Kenan again, sorry to bring her up, against Collins, I think, in the quarterfinal. Just such a frosty handshake. They're both Americans.
Yes.
I don't think it's limited just to Americans. The girls just do not seem to be friendly or sporting. It's a real shame. I know that doesn't answer your question, but it's an
No, it's a good
observation.
answer. It makes me think of the past because I remember how players, women and men, used to shake hands at the end of their matches. Most of them. Of course, there were personality clashes, but
Yeah.
I remember they were very friendly.
Oh, friendly, good,
even
yeah.
hugging at the end.
Yeah.
I've seen a few ending of a few matches from the 60s, 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
It's because they needed each other. They didn't go with their entourage everywhere.
No.
They didn't have their families, so they bonded. Players
They would actually travel on normal airplanes with the
Together.
other players
Yes.
sitting next to them.
So they became kind of
Yeah.
real friends, and nowadays everyone is in their bubbles, especially with the virus
Yeah.
around. So yes, there's definitely something going on there. But you touch on another player that I like very much, Collins.
Okay, yeah.
I'm mentioning her because it was her first semi or quarter.
Quarter,
Summer
yeah. And it was
quarter.
the only one of the quarters onwards, which ended in 3 sets, which went down to the final set.
Yeah, exactly. Kenin at the end was definitely devastated. She really thought she was going to win that Grand Slam.
I don't
didn't
think she likes losing any
She
match.
doesn't. She's playing very well. She has something in her that is powerful. She's dedicated. She really goes for it. But There was something special about Iga.
Do you know what was the maximum number of games she lost in any match? 5 games was the most she lost in any match. So there was
Exactly.
no one who took 6 games off her
Nobody.
or more
Yes.
in a match, and all straight sets.
Yes, and especially Halep was on fire. She was the girl to beat. She was
Yeah.
number 1 in the world, playing incredibly, and she couldn't do a thing.
But there's that saying, as the commentator said, you know, try not to beat someone's 6-love, or because that will make them sometimes,
Yes.
depending on their character, more
Exactly.
determined to come back. Try and beat someone 6-2, 6-2, but easier said than done.
Yes.
If you do that, they can come all the way back, as I found out. So, yeah, it was...
As you found out, I like that.
Yes.
Jim was sad because he lost one important match in our tournament. By the way, Jim won everything except this match. It's incredible. And you were 6-1 up, wasn't it? And then...
No, 6-3 up and then 3-1 up in the second set.
Yes, unreal. And then
yes, I
suddenly
lost.
they kicked you out of the court and
Yeah.
it switched everything around.
It did. It broke my rhythm and
Motherfuckers.
broke me, really. I haven't
Yes.
been the same since. This was... I couldn't enjoy the men's final at the French Open because it was the afternoon
Oh no.
afterwards. And I was watching with a black cloud over my head.
Yes, there is something about teamwork that is different, isn't it? If we lose for ourselves only, there's less weight, I think. Back to the US.
to the pros.
Back to the pros. Okay, so congratulations to Iga Swiatek.
She was wearing strange clothes, wasn't she? She looked
was.
like a member of the French Foreign Legion.
Yes.
A bit. So it's a bit different.
He was, yes. A bit more reserved even.
Yeah.
It was a fun tournament when it comes to women. And now we move on to the men, where the big daddies are back and looks like nobody could stand against them. There was one that came close, wasn't it? Can you guess who it was, Jim?
Were the initials ST?
Stefanos Tsitsipas. Yes.
Tits and arse. That's the one. He gave it a bash, didn't he? After a bad US,
That was
a bad
not
US Open,
too bad.
where he squandered all those match points. I've really felt very sorry for him. He lost to Rublev in the warm-up tournament and then easily avenged that. So I think he can look back with some pride. But like Kenin, I think he's someone who just does not like losing.
No, he doesn't. He wants to be a
know,
champion.
There were no hugs with Djokovic at the end. It was sporting, but it was like, I'll get you next time. So I think
Yes.
he can look back with some pride there, coming back from 2 sets down, making a fist of it. Very exciting match.
Yes, very. Tell me, did you notice at the end of that 5-setter semi-final between Tsitsipas and Djokovic, what I've noticed, Tsitsipas, first of all, in the beginning of the 5th set, he had the body language of somebody defeated. Nobody can tell me
Even though
otherwise.
he'd come back from 2 sets down.
Yes, it was strange to see that.
Yeah.
It was like he was depleted suddenly. And at the end, when they shook hands, Tsitsipas was dead. And Djokovic was walking to the net like he could play 7 more sets.
Yes.
Did you notice that? So, what is it? Why is it? This kid is 22 years old. He's been playing for a while. He's won the O2. He's doing good in most of the tournaments he's there. And then he does not give all. He collapsed in the last set. Is this the kind of thing we're seeing in the new generations that is really not allowing them to beat the big guns?
Well, he seemed to have a bit of a leg injury in the final set. And I do wonder whether, as happened to Thiem in the US Open final, it's not tightness. And he wants it so much and his body is tight that he just can't relax in the shots. And your leg maybe goes a bit because you're holding every muscle tight. So it might be a bit to do with that. I think Tsitsipas is someone who just seems to live on the edge in a lot of matches. In tennis, you need a certain looseness, don't you, to really express yourself.
You do.
I thought for the first 2 sets, which he lost, he just wasn't hitting the ball deep enough. He did very well to come back. One of the things I enjoyed about that match so much, it was floodlit. It was a night. It was the first year. And that was lovely because a lot of matches are on the daytime and we're working. So
True.
I thought it was a great match, really exciting. And it wasn't the only great men's match.
Oh, it
in the
wasn't.
tournament.
It was exciting. It started a bit awkward because the weather started really badly and some decisions from the French Open were dodgy when they had that roof closing in the match versus Djokovic and I don't remember the other player. So they decided the match to keep going while the rain was falling, while the roof was closing. And at a certain moment, Djokovic was fully covered without rain, and his opponent was with drifting water, and he was sliding and
know
slipping
that.
all over the place.
Yeah.
Djokovic was the one to say, this has to stop.
Well, that's good of him.
They
Yeah.
learned, and they didn't do the same mistake again. But having said that, then it ended up on a high in the second week. Lots of great matches.
Yeah, there was, of course, Team versus Hugo Gaston, the 20-year-old French player.
56 drop shots.
And that was a feature of the French Open, wasn't it? Drop
was.
shots. Maybe the balls were heavier conditions.
Djokovic hit him a million times as
Yeah,
well.
but some great drop shots, including from Gaston. One he could have smashed. He let it drop from the heavens and volleyed a drop shot.
Yeah, it was
Absolutely
awesome.
great. He might have killed Team in that match, so the Team didn't quite have the energy to beat Schwartzman, which was
Definitely.
another great match.
Wow.
So there you go. And Team was involved in two of them.
Yes.
And then, unfortunately, just ran out of gas. But again, great Schwartzman, who had a very disappointing US Open, losing to
Yes.
Cameron Norrie. They bounced back. And full credit, I think, to the players from men and women who played in both tournaments. They really supported tennis. Boris Becker wrote an article during the tournament questioning the people who weren't playing both tournaments and saying tennis really needs these people's support. And I'm thinking of Ashley Barty, the defending French Open champion, who
Yes.
didn't play the US or the French Open.
Wow.
Interesting. I wouldn't say I totally agree with Boris, but what do you think? Should these people really have made an effort to support it, or were they right to protect their health?
Yeah, I like the debate because if I want to be judgmental, yes, I don't agree with him, I would be there. On the other hand, yes, different families, different situations with the virus, different countries, different laws, different rules, different everything. And fear plays a big factor. Some people are more fearful than others. So some people are just scared of traveling. But still, I'm more onto the side of everybody should have been there and excited to play because
What about
we need it.
Nadal? What about if you were Nadal? Would you have played both the US Open and the French Open?
Yes, definitely.
Someone who's 33 with injury problems who might stand a better chance at the French Open. It might have jeopardised his French Open bid if he'd gone into the later stages of the US Open.
When the US Open was going on, I think he was already okay and ready to play. It was a mental decision, not a physical one. But he will know that better than I do. If I was Nadal, I would never lose one Grand Slam through my whole damn season.
It's like sleeping through Christmas Day.
It is. It just doesn't make sense.
And maybe he's kicking himself. Hey, look, the Grand Slam
21
race.
now.
I mean, he's on 20 with Federer, isn't he?
Yes.
Could he have won both, or would he have ended up losing both?
Yes, I think he would have won both. Yeah, only imagination would tell. And what about Djokovic? He was on form. He was playing really well. He was
Some superb tennis, yeah.
We saw the two big players wipe out both their halves until the final.
Yeah.
Other than Djokovic against Tsitsipas,
Pablo Bustacarina, he dropped a set.
But that's not enough. That's okay. That's acceptable.
Yeah.
Against Tsitsipas, definitely he was challenged.
Yeah. I thought Djokovic would win.
Me too.
I thought Tsitsipas could come back to take it to a fifth set, but I just fancied Djokovic. It was one of those matches.
Definitely. And what about Nadal in the final? Now, I tell you,
Wow.
I think I haven't seen a tennis player that determined to win a tennis match in a long, long time. I think the last time I saw dedication like that, correct me if I'm wrong, but must have been that final between Nadal and Djokovic, Australian Open.
Yes.
Nadal's level at that final, and he said in an interview it was not one of his best matches.
Right.
Maybe because it wasn't a great match overall. Maybe that's why he doesn't remember.
He's still pissed off about those balls.
And which ones?
The Wilson balls he complained about before the tournament.
He did. So
maybe he'll look back and say, okay, I won it, but those balls were ridiculous.
Exactly. And not only, conditions were different, the ball was flying differently. So in any conditions, that is his kingdom. And now it's 13 French Opens. And he destroyed the number one in the world that was on form. It was almost like what Iga did to Halep.
Were you happy that Nadal won the tournament? Do you think it's better for tennis that Nadal won it?
No.
Rather than Djokovic?
Yes, for tennis it would be good to have a new champion.
Yes.
Definitely.
I agree, yes.
I think they could install a nice king-size bed for Nadal in the center of the Roland Garros stadium and let him live there, you know? I mean, come on. enough is enough. Somebody has to step up. 15 years, 13 Grand Slams there. And now he has created an aura around him. His belief that he can win that thing. And it was visible against Djokovic in the final. He was not going to lose, even if he had to die
He's not going to lose to
there.
Djokovic either.
To anybody.
They're
Nobody.
probably not that close. You can't get on with everyone, can you?
Exactly.
In life. But I made the rather rash bet after a few drinks the other night that Nadal will not win next May, which is only, 7 months off, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think I say this every year. He's not going to win again. This is impossible. The rules of life, you cannot carry on winning. Someone is going to get you. And we haven't mentioned Jack Sinner, who didn't look bad in 2 of those 3 sets.
Well done.
How could we forget Jack Sinner? What an Italian name that is, Jack Sinner.
And what a face. We found out he's originally from Germany, but he grew up in...
he looks Germanic.
He is, yes. Their parents are.
Share a border.
Yeah, but so he moved to Italy when he was young. Sinner was a breeze... What's the expression?
A breath of fresh air.
A breath of fresh air.
It's difficult to say, isn't it?
Very difficult,
Say it
especially
again.
for a breath of fresh air.
Correct.
Oh yeah, not
Good.
bad for a non-English speaker.
No, your English is excellent.
Thank you. So, I got excited. I'm glad you reminded us of Sinner because did you see how calm that kid is? Another 19-year-old like Iga Świątek.
Excellent shots if he could just beef his
Power.
serve up a bit, and he's young enough to do that, definitely,
Yes.
but seemed very cool under pressure. Maybe not the kind of person you'd go partying with. There didn't seem to be much personality, but he'll have time to develop that on the tennis circuit.
Agreed.
But I was very surprised Nadal won the 3rd set so easily because Sinner, took the game to him in the first 2
He
sets.
did.
And did very well. And sometimes all you need is that bit of luck to win a set, and then you're in.
You're in.
And you can turn things around.
That's it, and he didn't.
Yeah, I was impressed with him, definitely.
So was he the most impressive?
If I was a betting man in terms of who out of the young guys could go on, yes. In terms of the most entertaining, it has to be Hugo Gaston, who's 20 years old. French, quite a good doubles player too. And
was
it was
entertaining.
maybe a tournament for shorter people because Gaston and Schwartzman both had very good tournaments.
They had.
And, are both people who you'd be quite happy to be stuck behind at the cinema because you'd be able to see over the top of their heads quite easily.
Definitely. And I think those are good mentions. Schwartzman definitely needs a mention because he stepped up. He's playing better than ever. And he beat Nadal just 2 weeks ago, so I had hopes for him. But nobody puts down Nadal when he
So the
does.
question is, we know who the greatest clay courts player of Nadal's
And
era
here we
is,
go.
but who is the second greatest clay court player? Because that's really what they're fighting for. Who do you think's been the second greatest player who's pushed Nadal closest through this 14, 15, 16-year reign where he's won most of them?
For the last 20 years, Federer was the best clay court player. Funny to say that, but he was. Without Nadal, he would have won probably the 13 or 10 maybe.
Very
in French
underrated.
Opens.
It's amazing we're saying this. Underrated clay court player.
Very. But I still think the second best clay court player is definitely Djokovic.
Ah, okay.
I don't even want to say clay court player. I
Do you
just
think Nadal's best and then Federer second, then Djokovic?
No, I think Djokovic is better now.
Djokovic.
I think Djokovic
see.
is better no matter what is the surface.
Be playing on the moon.
Yes, he can play on the moon, he's still better. So I think Djokovic, it doesn't matter what the surface is playing. His place is the hard court. But he reaches the finals everywhere he goes.
I mean, grass, he's he's going to overtake Borg maybe and get that 6th title.
Exactly. So, and what about you? What's the second best clay court player?
I think an argument could be made for Federer or Djokovic, really. And maybe Wawrinka's could step in and say, hey, don't forget about me. I've had some great runs in the French Open and beat Djokovic when Djokovic was expected.
Agreed.
So I think it's maybe a 3-man race there with your favourite Andy Murray somewhere in the distance, although he reached 2 finals. But Federer, Djokovic, seesaw. I remember, Djokovic was expected to beat Federer at the French Open one year in the semi-final. And Federer downed him in 4 sets, raised a finger in the air as if
Forever
to say,
iconic.
I'm the number one.
I'm the number one.
And unfortunately, I think Djokovic and Nadal would have been a better final because Federer lost yet again to Nadal in the final.
It was a shame.
But that's tennis. May the best man win. I think it would have been better for tennis if Djokovic had won this year's French Open.
Agreed.
Kept that race close. But hey, the best man won, and that's what it's about. It's not wrestling where it's all fixed, or boxing from the 1950s where the mafia decide it. It really is who's the best, and Nadal is the best horse in the race.
Definitely, by miles. And this probably will never be overtaken, this record of French Opens.
Not unless they start to play it 2 or 3 times a year, which could happen with lockdown. The world's upside down. That's
true. Yes, because if you imagine it, a tennis career could be, if he plays really well or she, 20 years playing really well. 20 years to win 13, even in 20 years, winning 13 French Opens is very, very difficult. I think it's going to be very difficult to surpass.
And if they do that, Nadal will say, well, did you win it without dropping a set? Because look, I've done that several times.
Yes.
I think it's the first year where the woman champion and the male champion, neither of them dropped a set.
That was a special result.
It's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Yes.
But let me say this, Federer, after a while, stopped entering the French Open. He was reaching the final and losing, and he reached the age of 33, maybe 34, and he started skipping the French Open. Djokovic is that same age now, and he's been the runner-up. He's been left jilted at the altar several times. Do you think he'll start skipping the French Open, saying, it's a waste of time, me climbing this mountain, exhausting myself, and then Nadal wins anyway?
That's true. Definitely he's not going to do that, but I wouldn't be surprised that all the players in the world just gave up on the French Open and let Nadal go there by himself. Because it's ridiculous what's going on. Give some space to somebody else, Nadal, please.
He must get bored, really.
Honestly.
And it must be an immense pressure thinking. At least they're not consecutive, are they, the titles?
True.
If they were consecutive, there must be this pressure when you walk on. Who's going to beat me? It might be some unknown in the first round. How embarrassing.
Yes.
That would be. So the pressures are accumulating. Maybe it'd be a relief when he finally loses to some 15-year-old qualifier from the Isle of Wight or something.
Yes, exactly. Speaking of the UK, we have to mention Murray's performance on the French Open.
Your eyes are lighting up now.
Very strange to me, because I think this is even leftovers from all the injury documentary, and they made Murray into such a victim that's how he played this Grand Slam. If you're injured, then don't play. And I'm not going against him. I'm just saying, Murray, what happened there? And you tell me, what do you think?
I think in the match I watched him play, which was against Wawrinka, it was very sad watching him play. He wasn't really bending his legs on the serve. He wasn't using his whole body for the shots. I mean, he was hitting, making bad mistakes, and normally he'd be swearing and spitting at his coaches.
Defeated.
But there was no fire in the belly.
Nothing.
And it's a shame. I know clay isn't his best surface, but he's had some amazing runs at the French Open. And Wawrinka, went out shortly afterwards at the French Open too. So it's not like he lost to someone who reached the semi-finals or the quarterfinals. So it's sad, but he's going to carry on. Mats Wilander said, I like Mats Wilander. He said, Murray needs to look at himself in the mirror and say, should I be entering these tournaments and depriving wild cards of this? And there was a flurry of criticism from other players saying, hey, keep out of this, Mats, 3-time French Open champion, Mats Wilander. It's a valid opinion, even if you don't agree with it, and you tend to agree with it.
Don't participate. Give your space to somebody else if you're not ready to
and it's on merit. When your ranking's high enough, then you enter these tournaments. Do you think that?
Yeah, I think if you go into a Grand Slam, whoever player you are, whatever ranking you are, give it all, because this is a great opportunity, even if you have been playing for years.
Yeah.
And it was a bit sad to see that. I'm curious of what's going to happen with Murray in the next few years.
Well, he's been playing last week, and he didn't blame injury after the match.
Yes.
So I think it was maybe just a bad day at the office.
Yes.
It's very brave of him to carry on with these hip problems. He's a reminder that most people are human.
Well said. Two last players before we wrap it up.
Absolutely, yeah.
First of all, what did you think about Zverev? And second of all, what about Medvedev? Is he fading away? Now he's losing everything.
I don't understand Medvedev. Why he hasn't won a match at the French Open, has he? And yet I think he's the kind of player who's suited to play scrambling around, 2 sets down and coming back. So it's very strange. I really like Medvedev, but it's that phenomenon of having an amazing run, an amazing year in his case,
Amazing.
and then you're the player to beat. And
that it?
players you've beaten start to really want to beat you and figure out your game. So it's a shame. I thought he was ready to join the big
Me
four
too.
and break them up and really throw a spanner
Damn
in the
it.
works and be disruptive.
I was ready as well for that. I was ready when I saw him come back on that US Open final last year against Nadal. I said, this guy has the balls to do this.
Yeah.
He has the gut to do this. And he's fallen off. And now he's just participated in another small tournament after the French Open and
he
already lost in the second round.
Yeah, to no one.
To no one. It's like, what the hell is going on? What about Zverev? What did you think?
Zverev, you gotta love Zverev. God loves a trier.
Yeah.
And so do I. Not that I'm comparing myself to God or anything.
Sure.
But, I felt sorry for him in the US Open. He came so close. He stopped getting involved in so many 5-set matches,
True.
which was almost a medical condition in his case.
Yeah.
Life is never dull with Zverev. He lost, didn't he, to Jack Sinner and said,
Yes.
I didn't feel well. I had a fever before the
He
match.
did.
And as soon as anyone says fever in
Oh
today's
my
age, you
God.
think, hang on, back off. Have you got COVID? Why did you enter? But I don't think he has tested positive.
No, he
but,
hasn't.
I always think it's a bit disrespectful to your opponent to say afterwards that you felt ill.
Agreed.
But I did it myself when I lost the other day. I did say to the bloke I played, I just had to let it slip. My back went in the first set, which didn't make much of a difference. I don't think I probably would still have lost, but maybe I regret doing that. And Zverev, maybe you should just say I've lost to the better person, even if it was an injury.
Yes, exactly.
Which did that. So very strange.
It
about that. But it
was.
wasn't COVID.
No.
He's had it before, hasn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
Not that you can't get it a second time.
Yeah.
I'm not a scientist. Please don't think I am.
I felt
But very
that.
strange.
Yeah, I felt that Zverev was definitely worn out from the US Open a little
Yeah.
bit. He was not with the same energy. He was playing well
Those
for a few rounds.
necklaces, they weigh him down.
Yes, they do.
Don't
Just-
jump in the river, Zverev.
No.
Too heavy.
I've noticed something was very strange at the end of the two finals. And tell me what you think. I was pissed off at this. I don't know. I love Eurosports, but what they've done was very strange. To me, it felt disrespectful to the players that won the US Open.
Okay.
At the end, in the final speeches, they put side by side two screens, one with a speech with a little square on the left, and then a massive rectangle on the right with the highlights of the match, which they always show at the end of the...
It's almost like the producers are
broadcast.
saying these speeches are not going to be interesting enough. Was that being shown in the stadium as well when they were giving the speeches? Was it actually on the stadium screens as well?
I don't know. I know that's on TV. I've never seen this before, ever.
But I quite like a good speech.
Me
It's
too. And
it's
not
the best
only...
thing about a wedding.
Exactly. About anything. Look, there was a little rectangle on the left where you could barely see the player giving the speech of their life. And then the highlights on the right. I'm sorry, I am shocked by this.
Well, you've had your moan. I'm going to have our moan. We won't end on a moan. We'll have to think of something positive
And we know
to
what it
end
is.
with. But I love the French Open. It's with Wimbledon. It's my favourite tournament. But I probably preferred the US Open more because I could watch the replays when I chose without knowing the result.
Yes.
Whereas with this, and I know people will write in by their thousands and the postman will have a heavy mailbag saying, Jim, just buy this extra package and you could have watched the replays.
Yes.
But you always have to buy something extra. Can you not just subscribe to one tennis channel where you can watch the matches and just choose a replay when you want? So I couldn't watch the replays when I wanted. It was just potluck of when I turned on the TV, if it was the right part of the replay, the right part of a match.
Yes.
So I found that incredibly frustrating.
I agree. It's horrible. I've been wanting for decades now one damn service that gives all the tennis in the world, and there isn't. And lastly, to end our episode, as a Federer fan, I have a sad statement to make, and I want you to comment on it. So, the best of all time still can be Federer if he somehow, until he's 42, 43, comes up with more miracles, as he's done before. But right now, as we stand, to me, the best player of all time, not the most beautiful player, not the one with the most shots, but the best of the best, for now, before Nadal, Djokovic and Federer retire, is now Nadal. And I'll say why, and then you tell me what you think. Head to head, no chance. 20 Grand Slams, same number. He beat Federer in his kingdom. Federer did not beat him in his kingdom. He has 13 in his kingdom. Federer has 8. If you would say now, do you think Federer is still ahead of Nadal as the best player of all time?
It's a great question. I was going to ask you, if God forbid, if anything happened and Federer, Djokovic and Nadal and Murray were all in a car accident travelling in the same car, who would you say was the greatest at this stage?
Now, that's what I'm saying. It's Nadal.
That is what you're saying.
Definitely
so
Nadal.
Answer my question. I think it's close, but yeah, I would have to say head-to-heads come into it. And I would say, yeah, Nadal, but I think Djokovic could overtake him.
That's
Federer
later.
might have something
That's
up his
later.
sleeve as a
That's
miracle
exactly.
comeback
Miracle.
man. He might do something at 40, 41, which Nadal and Djokovic don't do
Will
at
not.
40 or 41.
And that gives him credit.
So they're all great players, but there are other categories, as you said earlier, the most beautiful player. Federer fans would say it's skewed by Nadal winning so many at one tournament. And also in the head-to-head, so many of them have been on a surface which so clearly favours Nadal over Federer, Nadal over anyone. It's phenomenal. I think it's close. Nadal has also won the Olympics singles.
Oh, even more. Thank you.
You know,
Wow.
Federer fans
getting
are
worse.
left clutching at straws, but I don't think Nadal's ever won the ATP Tour End finals.
Yes.
Whereas Federer's won that multiple times.
Multiple times.
As Djokovic.
True.
So it's not over yet.
No.
But at the moment, yeah, I think Nadal's biggest rival is Djokovic.
Agreed. And that's ending of our show. Thank you very much for coming.
Let us know what you think.
Yes, and yes, we want to know. Is it Nadal? Does Federer still have a chance? Djokovic is going to be the best of them all. We'll see that later. Thank you very much for coming, Jim, and I'll see you next time.
I'll see you soon. Take care.